A very good morning to you all. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I am Chamberlain Oso, reporting live from Abuja.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Hey, another Friday is upon us. Welcome to the show. I'm Kayode Okikelu here in Lagos.
Yes, indeed, and glad to be alive actually on this lovely day. We might add. But you know, it was a couple of days ago that we tried to focus on the importance of ensuring that we go about these elections in a peaceful manner. I mean, given the introduction of technology in the elections, we all expect that it will reduce the propensity or reduce the capacity or reduce violence right from the campaigns up until election day. But goodness, what we've seen a couple of days, as a matter of fact, even yesterday, INEC's office in Ogun. You know, those are the kind of scenarios that we don't want to see play out in our system. And a good thing the police authorities spoke in that report, saying that they will do what they can to ensure that, I think that took them unawares from the commentary we heard from the police in Ogun. But a lot will depend on the police to ensure that all of those who are involved in that are brought to book. And then as a major deterrent, I know it's beginning to sound like a cliche these days, but they have to do what they have to do to ensure that anyone who even thinks about any of such things should almost immediately just extinguish or perish any of such thoughts. It shouldn't be even contemplated, let alone executed. But those are the things that we need to address, right from the INEC offices, the campaigns, the electorates. We all need to respect people's opinion. Everybody can never be on the same page with different persons. That's why it's a democracy. Ideas have got to contend. Let the superior ones, anyway, let whatever the people think is their superior part of the argument, let it have the day. That's the way it should be. The spirit of sportsmanship should come in here. I mean, we see these kind of things in other democracies. Why not here?
The onus is on us, the people. It is on us, the people. And that cannot be, overemphasized. It cannot be, understated. What's important here now for every one of us to know is, look, as we all know, everything is local. Development is local, security is local, elections are local, everything is local. So what is important for us is, look, we as a people have a role to play. I'll speak to, I mean, you've spoken to the authorities to do what they need to do. I'll speak to two segments of the society, the people. We ourselves see something, say something. We've been saying that even before this government came into power. So what are the things we have seen? What are the things that we can do to ensure that these things don't happen? We know our neighbors. We know the people that are likely to form in trouble. Do we give the information to the police? And then, I mean, you spoke to the police the other time. Have we been able to build that police trust relationship, police people trust relation, quotient, so that people can freely give information to the police? That is one. So that is very, very important before elections, during elections, and after the elections, because, anyway, it's a whole conundrum. The second segment that I would like to speak to is the intelligence community, the security agencies who are, intelligence gathering people in the various communities all over the place. I can't imagine for the life of me, Chamberlain, that anything will happen in any community and the authorities will not know about it. I don't believe it. I can never believe it. So you will know that these things are likely to happen. You were sharing something with me that there were some predictions that October 2020 could happen. So we knew these things would happen. We knew, I mean, we always know that that trouble is likely. What do we do to mitigate it? Those are the issues that are important. So the people ourselves, we have to take responsibility and recognize that this is the only nation that we have. Some of us cannot go anywhere else. The president was saying he doesn't have any house anywhere else, other than in Nigeria. So every one of us, for many of us who can't go anywhere else, this is all we have. So we have to do everything we have as a people to protect it. But the intelligence community have to recognize that this is the time for them to up their game. What do you think, Kay?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a typology, really, the president's statement. I know it's out there, people giving different sides, but it's essentially meant to also send a message to people that you have no other place or no other home except Nigeria, so we should naturally do all we can to make it the very best it should be. I mean, those attacks we saw, they look coordinated. I mean, seeing that it happened in Ede South, in Osun State, and Abeokuta South local government area in Ogun State. It looks like these attacks were coordinated. And, you know, the time it happened, almost the same time, in the early hours, the one in Ogun State at about 1 a.m. So clearly, this was planned. The security question is big on the minds of everyone. Do we need more security, a different security arrangement? Clearly, because the statement put out by INEC said that the security operatives there were overpowered. And we don't want that because we have different INEC installations across the country. So yes, we'll keep an eye on that, definitely, also during the program today. But one also prediction, I mean, since we're talking about predictions, intelligence and all of that, one I want to offer freely is in the aftermath of the 2023 elections, because we've seen lots of emotions on and off social media, different supporters of the parties. I mean, you see the things they say, the way they make it seem as though this is do or die, really, as though if it is not my candidate, then all hell will be broken, will break loose, as it were. And I think it's something we should keep our eye on, because really, we can't have, everybody can't be winners in this coming election. We can only have one winner. And I think it's important to maybe try to find ways to mitigate this, because it's looking like it might be a big one. When you see some of the things supporters of the various candidates, and I'm not just focusing on just one or two, really a lot of them, when you see the kind of things they say, you wonder, what will happen if this person's candidate does not win? I really fear. So this is intelligence, if you could say that, free of charge this morning, because, I mean, it's our nation. We need to make the very best we can of it. Gentlemen.
Said, gentlemen, so we'll just keep tabs on all of those, and let's ensure that we all play our part to ensure that these kind of things don't happen. Look, I think it should be gone. Gone should be those days where anyone will try and pull a wool over our eyes, trying to use fault lines to divide the people. Look, people know a lot better these days in terms of what they want and how they want what they want. So
we just have to be on top of our game, because don't forget the weaponization of poverty and all. So
we know these games too. The people are catching
exactly.
up with some of these things.
Absolutely.
We'll keep talking about them as we progress. So that's it. We'll just go right ahead and take you through some of the dailies. And we will start with Daily Trust this morning. And they are focusing on what transpired yesterday. Attacks. INEC holds emergency meeting today. Records 47 incidents in 33 months. Hoodlums touch Ogun. Osun offices. IGP probes attack on Atiku's convoy. You know, that one for Ogun was the major highlights yesterday, given when it happened and all that was involved in that attack. And, well, the police may have said what they've said, but that it's happened now. So you'd have thought that they should have been on alert. And that's where you speak about intelligence.
It's not possible for us to not
crucial.
know this one. It's not possible.
It's the lifeblood of security agencies.
It's not possible. I mean, we undermine our security agencies when we say that things happen and they are not playing catch up. I don't think so.
Well, if this kind of things happen and the security agencies don't have intelligence as to this was going to happen, then they need to look inwards, because that connection with the people is a huge challenge if this kind of things keep going on. And look, the reasons why many other countries, agencies do so well and many people laud them, people volunteer information.
The trust quotient is high.
That is a huge component, whether or not they succeed. So, hoping that they'll do a lot to improve on that one. It is a big lead on the front page here. Media holds roundtable on industry regulation. That's also featuring here. Okay, look at this. 2023, vote whomever you like, Buhari tells Nigerians. That's what's going to happen anyways. But it's just, you know, for emphasis. Vote whomever you like, Buhari tells Nigerians. And
why do I hear an unwritten statement there. Vote whomever you like. I don't care.
Well, I'm only reading the written statement, so I don't know about the unwritten one. I'm not. I don't have those kind of powers that he has to see the unwritten one. So maybe if God blesses me, eventually speaks to me, I can.
Maybe because I use glasses, you know.
Okay, so dollar crashes to 730 naira at parallel markets. So just to add that bit, that's a daily trust this morning.
This Nigeria focuses on the same story this morning. On the front page, you have 106 days to election. INEC offices set ablaze in Ogun, Oshun. That's the lead of this Nigeria newspaper. Simultaneous attacks, very worrisome. Commission laments. Summons emergency meeting to discuss disturbing issues. We're not just hearing this. Of course, we know that. This has been happening to INEC facilities in particular.
Yeah.
How significantly that will affect the budget of INEC, the logistics of INEC, that's another thing altogether. Remember that they had to rebuild some facilities that were destroyed previously. Now, what's going to happen with these ones? You know, why are these ones happening? Why these specific locations? Those are some of the things that I want to believe that will also, be looked at. But the picture story also underscore that. Right under the picture, 2023 campaigns. IGP warns political parties, investigates Borno's PDP convoy attack, redeploys post 8 commissioners of police. And the story on pages 5 and 16 of the paper this morning. We've been talking about our debt profile for a while. Beside the nameplate, domestic debt. FGO oil producing states over 2.1 trillion naira as of June 2020. Beg your pardon, 2022. Stories on page 15. Question then we want to ask is, for how long? Is that this year or over the past 10 years? Well, you find the details.
I know they always talk about us trying to reduce the domestic debt such that they can free up capital for the sector, but I wonder how that's going to play out.
They also been able to free up the cash that's running on trailers all over the nation. Well, that's this Nigeria newspaper today.
Cheeky.
The front page of Leadership Friday, and just seeing some very interesting things. So let me just show you. Right, there you go. That's the front page. It's a departure, from some of the stories we've seen across the front pages. But it's important, really. You see, loan sharks persist with cruel recovery practices. And there's this infographic that shows what Leadership Friday describes as excesses of online loan sharks in Nigeria. I'm sure virtually everyone has had some sort of interface, either directly or indirectly. You just get a message on your phone, or you get a call and you're wondering, okay, I was just minding my business. What do I have to do with this? So it's one of those excesses, if I could say, of the loan sharks. And I recall the FCCPC actually making moves at some point, but it looks like this challenge is still very present with us. So this breaks it down: cyberbullying, charging high interests, beating up defaulters. That's right, it's actually right there. And a couple of other excesses. And I think it's important to step up activities to ensure that these excesses actually stop, right? So that's a big one for Leadership Friday, something to also keep our eye on. And you see this one. So it's maybe another flip side, or the unwritten part of what you read earlier. And it's at the bottom of the front page. It says, PMB has anointed Tinubu, it shall come to pass. Adamu boasts. So, maybe this also gives another side or context to the president's statement saying, vote whomever you like as president. You see, Ashiwaju is not going anywhere. Atiku fires back. It's the season, really. I'd like to tell the electorate not to get carried away, or not to allow those statements, sway your emotions or get you unnecessarily heated up. I remember one governor saying, they're just political gunshots. You don't, how did he say it? They don't hurt nobody, or something like that. But really, just allow the brickbats stay where they ought to stay and focus on the issues. That's what matters for you at the end of the day. 65,000 voters may be disenfranchised as fire guts Ogun, Oshun INEC offices. May, the operational word there. It's a page 7 read. And just one more for you, and this one is cheering, I must say. CSP Ama promoted for rejecting robber's $200,000 bribe. That's right. So I think it's important to actually reward honesty, reward people who are doing their jobs and doing it well, because it will send a message to others that there's actually reward for integrity, for honesty, and that should be the hallmark of our nation. That should be the ethos, I imagine, of our nation, Nigeria. Let's leave it there for Leadership Friday this morning, guys.
That is the, what we need to keep highlighting and ensure that this kind of things go on as it should. And look who we've got here this morning, everybody. Good morning, my boy. It looks like him.
Oh, really? Nets? Oh, is it because Lagos is an aquatic city?
Who knows? who knows?
Oh, yes, indeed. So, you never can tell what you can get these days,
well, days, yes, but these things happen day after day, and you never know what the dailies are going to say until you see them. So,
well,
a little while thou shalt see me in Abuja, and a little while thou shalt see me in Lagos.
You never can tell. Anything is possible.
This is what Friday does to narratives. He's waxing lyrical now.
Oh, well, let's see what more of the papers have. Quickly take a look at This Nigeria for you. They also focusing on the violence that
I think we should go with Daily Times.
Yeah.
Because this Nigeria, what these things are happening in this Nigeria, we've talked about it.
Okay, fantastic. Then let's go with the Daily Times. This one says, we won't allow any online platform to plunge Nigeria into crisis. That's according to the federal government. There's still this love-hate relationship with Twitter and maybe all the other affiliates. Because if you look at the rider, in case you're wondering where that story is coming from, says it's monitoring development around change of ownership of Twitter. We've been seeing what's been happening on Twitter. The new owner says is going to be allowing freedom of speech. What that means, we are unsure yet. For those of you who have blue ticks, how is that going? Are you paying your $8 yet?
Those who have it for now still have 1 month.
Okay, they still have 1 month. Okay, after that.
I think the rules that the government gave to Twitter for operate, I think is still there.
Okay.
So maybe that's why they say, look, we're monitoring. But I think they're going to also focus on how the organization carries out their duties regarding those agreements that they had with them, which was the basis upon which they were instated into the country. So maybe that's what they...
But when you look at foreign influence in elections that happened in the United States, they talked about the role that Russia played through Facebook. People have been asking if it's possible, how possible it is that foreign powers could interfere in local elections through social media platforms. One of them will be Twitter. Now, I do not know whether foreign powers will be interested in Nigeria enough to want to influence things, but what do I know? Because we have been seeing that even the security alerts that have been issued have been taken as some form of interference in terms of how they were issued. I mean, the fact that the authorities say they were not engaged with properly before, these advisories were issued to citizens. So for Nigeria and maybe a number of other countries, they're a little weary now. It's just that the citizens too will also be on the alert, because any attempt to curtail their freedoms through regulating or on total regulation of social media will certainly be frowned upon.
It's natural for governments across the world to be defensive of their,
space, the media space,
and all of that. But at the end of the day, what would make the people, quote unquote, stand against their state? I mean, even though you hear such things, that people who are Russians may not be very happy with what their government is doing, but you don't hear Russians that loudly out. How much of that do you hear about China and a number of other nations like that? That doesn't mean that everyone in the country is happy with what is going on. But at the end of the day, trust. The government must build trust with the people. There must be direction. They must give the people a national direction. This is where we are going. People will follow.
Yeah, but you know what, guys? Much as talking about protecting our own space, and that's why this country is there's just so much that we can have going for us in this country. I met a couple of young people some time ago, and they developed this local app as well. Just as you have the WhatsApp, they have it in this country. I was pleasantly surprised. Exactly. And I thought, do we actually have this? Young folk developed it in this country. So if government can only latch on that, give them that support, and then you don't have to worry so much about some of these other,
Does the fact that it is made locally change the kind of influence? I mean, it should certainly be very good to support whatever it is that's made locally, and from not just the point of nationalism, but also in terms of what it would spell for our own local economy. That makes plenty of sense. But does it mean then that the rules, I mean, because you know how government tries to regulate everything. At that point, before you know what's happening, there might be a whole ministry regulating, what apps you can come up with or what your apps can do and cannot do. Unlike how you have them now, where everybody is using these apps. They're international. WhatsApp is an international app. You just go to the app store and you download.
I get you that point, but the thing about that too is that, let me take it from this principle, and I hope they don't misconstrue it. There's nothing wrong with regulation in the true sense of the word. Because after all, in life, we all go by principles. There are principles in life. There are laws of physics. There are laws that govern life itself. So there has to be laws that govern several of the things that we do.
Indeed.
So yes, maybe I stand corrected. I think if we develop something locally here, I think there'll be a lot more national thinking, applied to that compared to if
Chimilin, it is you who says, what a man can do by what he's done before. So if we're to go with what our government has done before, in terms of
that is
social
the issue.
media.
So I think the point Markwe is raising is there's a thin line sometimes, or a veil between regulation and censorship.
But the beauty about that too is that Nigerians will always get their voices heard. If they feel government is overstepping its bound, they will tell the government. No matter what it is, because government will come, government will go. The people will remain. So ultimately, it is about the people, and that's the way it should be.
Well, we're still looking at the Daily Times, just in case you're wondering, where we were. And then excuse me, they have this one, no going back on redesign of Naira notes. That's also attributed to the president. Looks like the CBN governor really has the firm backing of the president on this one. 2023, expect more hard times, Shetima tells Nigerians. That's a little unusual. I mean, when you are on the campaign trail, you're usually, as they say, sweet talking the people in poetry. But it looks like some of the candidates are not mincing words about what is to come in 2023. Says Obi has nothing to offer than dubious statistics. As Aisha Buhari says, security, hottest debate topic in 2023. I think for a number of people, the question is when we will eventually get to engage all of these people together, examining what it is that each one is bringing to the table. Because part of the advantage that this long campaign period is supposed to confer on Nigerians should be the, will I say privilege now, or the opportunity to be able to inspect or introspect the campaign promises, the manifestos of these candidates, not just at the national level, but also at the subnational level. So let us hope that that opportunity materializes. But what we've seen so far is that it would seem that some candidates are hiding. I do not know,
The part of the subnationals that you mentioned, I think that one is a lot more important.
Yeah.
A lot more important. The federal government does not have indigents. The states have indigents. All development happens at the state level. All insecurity at the state level. All elections at the state level. All health issues at the state level. So let us as a people interrogate those levels of authority as well. Both those who are going to become, the governors, and those who aspired to become governors, so that at the end of the day, and then please let the opposition stop keeping quiet. Let them talk.
How do you mean?
Let's have virile opposition. Since 1999,
both parties are opposition. Both parties are opposition in different areas, different states.
Well, yes.
They're all opposition.
But we don't hear them most of the time. So there are no alternatives.
Yeah,
No
don't let them
alternative.
accuse you of being the one that has refused to hear them. Well, I'm still looking at. I'm still looking
other
at.
than to accuse each other.
Yeah.
They don't say anything.
Okay, let's take a look at the Daily Times. Court sets aside conviction of EFCC chairman for contempt.
Was anybody going to be surprised at that?
Yes, that was almost scandalous. I mean, genuinely, how would it have been if our AFCC chairman really was, committed to jail? Well, I think it would have said the lesson, though, because if the court ordered that, you carry out an instruction and, a ruling, and that wasn't done, and then, you're obviously in contempt, there needs to be a follow-up to that.
Yeah.
But I hope that, they'll be able to, follow that up. But at the same time, in our country, it would still have it would just have not been pretty to see the EFCC chairman behind bars.
Yeah, because for it to have
contempt.
mentioned in reports, that first instance was a little surprising and for many disappointing. But now they're saying that was not the case, but who knows? But now this is the latest perspective.
Yes, this is the latest. Court sets aside conviction of EFCC chairman for contempt. Well, let's leave it there for Daily Times newspapers.
Take a look at the Nigerian News Direct very quickly. 2023 presidency. Buhari boasts of APC Tinubu's victory. That's what you have as lead of the paper.
I thought there was another quote where he says, vote for whomever you like.
Yes, but then this one is taking another look, perhaps at the same story, perhaps a different one. Says APC lucky to have Tinubu as flag bearer. We have the most sellable product in market, ascribed to Ribadu. We have not endorsed Tinubu, that's ascribed to PFN. Find the details of that on page 23 of the Nigerian News Direct this morning. Very interesting perspectives, wouldn't you say? And right under those pictures, we'll continue to accord deserved respect to a traditional institution, ascribed to Abiodun. That story is also right there. And then above the nameplate, NIDA reveals plan to develop policy to regulate e-commerce. There's that scare. Is that the word to use? That, all online adverts, online stores are going to start getting taxed. And people are wondering, hey, you're just selling biscuits online. Are you going to tax? But then, that's the Nigerian News Direct this morning. And, what is it?
No. That's it then. I think that ends a look at some of the dailies this morning. Then. So just give us a moment. We will be back.
There has been a fake news trending on a social media by some mischievous elements that has attracted the attention of many Nigerians, alleging that the PDP presidential candidate's convoy in Borno was attacked on the 9th of November 2022 while holding a campaign rally in the state. The command wished to state authoritatively that the news is not only fake, but also a false and mischievous attempt by some unguided people to incite disturbance and distract the peace of Borno people and Nigeria at large. The campaign rally was done and conducted successfully under a tight and adequate security coverage.
Pervasive attacks during campaigns and rallies of political parties revived the debate on the capacity and operations of the Nigeria police force. In a no-holds-barred session at the State House 57th Ministerial Briefing, the Inspector General of Police addressed the most recent attack on the PDP presidential candidate's convoy.
What happened in Borno had happened, and the assessment of the of the state public relations officer might not be completely conclusive, as he reacted to what had happened very quickly. And I think we have a total team that will assess what had actually happened and the extent of what had happened based on various presentation that is coming out from members of the public, from the APC, from the PDP, from the police. So you need to have more information to come out with a clear picture of what had happened, and also put measures to prevent such occurrence in future outings of the parties.
According to him, there is no imminent threat to the FCT, and the government has not dismissed any of the recent alerts as a mere alarm.
A lot of efforts has been made, like you said, to those detention, and actually arrest has been made for those who we believe are planning to commit crime in whatever form, and we have done that arrest, and as at when due, those arrested will be charged to court by any of the services that have them.
He acknowledges that the police has indeed commercialized some aspects of their duties.
The Special Protection Unit, the DIG is here, was created to provide protection for VIPs. And we feel people are abusing it, but anybody that will be provided with that service must be assessed, must be checked and processed. That is not one of those you have mentioned before such protection is provided. It is a commercial outfit of the police, yes.
While promising to take cases of assault very serious, the Inspector General also assures that the release of the Chibok girls is still an ongoing situation that would require training of negotiators, among other strategies, to resolve. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Welcome back. So we're going to focus on that matter. And as you've seen, Mohammed Ali Jajari, the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Borno State, joins us this morning. We've reached out to the police in the state, as well as the All Progressives Congress in the state, but we've not been able to get any representation. But we have heard at least narratives from the IGP on this matter. That happens to be the latest perspective from the IGP, the police, but we'll keep trying to see how we can get the other parties involved in this matter. But in the meantime, let's head to our studios in Maiduguri to get some perspectives on what transpired. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program here today. Well, it was a bit hazy for so many people to make perhaps sense of what transpired, especially when they got the narrative of the commission, the police public relations officer in the state. But now that the IGP has spoken, saying these matters are still being investigated, so quite a number of things playing out there. So if you could go ahead and tell us, from your perspective, what happened on the day?
Thank you for having me. What happened day before yesterday was the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, and PDP stalwarts and supporters came to Maiduguri. I received them, and we went out on a rally. First of all, we were on our way going to the Shahus Palace, and from the Shahus Palace we were supposed to go to the Ramat Square, where we'll hold our rally and start our campaign. On our way, there was massive attack on our convoy. Cars were smashed, and people were injured, and a serious attack. In fact, there was a gunshot. I'm not sure if it was attached to the appointed at the presidential candidate or just on the air, but definitely there was a gunshot. And that is how we went to the Shahus Palace under that immense threat to peace and security. And from there, we went to the Ramat Square. And we actually have issued press release last month. Last month, we woke up in Maiduguri to two video trending in social media where the PDP state, the APC state chapter party chairman came out to openly say that they will kill or bury, and they have to win elections. They must win elections. And one of the House of Assembly members also came out, corroborated the same message to people. And we issued press release telling Nigerians, and especially security agencies, that this is what is going on, that they should take measures. But nothing happened until day before yesterday when the presidential candidate arrived to Maiduguri, and they actually orchestrated what they have said on the social media.
I'm sure you've... Can you hear us? Because we can hear you loud and clear. I just wanted to confirm if you have also seen the statement of the police, which initially dismissed the reports of the attack on the convoy. It says that the rally held peacefully. So can you confirm to us, was this attack at the rally or was it after the rally?
There was attack at the rally. In fact, I had a call with the Commissioner of Police, and he said that he did not say there is no attack. There is an attack, but what he was denying is that there is no gunshot attack. That is what he said to me. And I said to him, it could be on air or it could be anywhere, but there is a gunshot attack. So nobody is denying that there is an attack. There is an attack, but what they were saying, that there is no gunshot attack, which I have said to him that definitely there is gunshot attack. I will not say it was appointed at us or whatever, but there is a gunshot attack.
Well, I have read the statement of the police, and I didn't quite see anywhere where they even acknowledged that there was an attack, be it gunshots or whatever. What they claimed is that they have somebody in custody with stone exhibit. That's the most that they acknowledged. But can you clarify for us if this attack happened at the rally? Because part of what the statement reads, I'm trying to see if I can get it out for our viewers, is that the CP, the Commissioner of Police, was actually at the rally of your party to ensure that everything went smoothly. Is that correct?
He was at the venue. He went to the venue, but he wasn't around when we were doing the rally. There is an attack. People were injured. One of the casualties even died last night. We took names and details of those people. Some of them were in hospitals, and we went and saw them. So there is an attack. Over 100 and something people were injured, and one of the casualties last night at about 9 p.m. died.
That's really sad to hear. I mean, may the soul rest in peace. It's really sad to hear that somebody attended a rally
Amen.
and, you know, shortly after the person lost his life owing to an attack that happened. The only thing we are just trying to get is to straighten, because, I mean, this ought not to be controversial. It should be that when you say something, the police is able to corroborate and say, you know, this is what happened from what we can see. But when we see that, you know, they're discordant tunes, the best we can try to do as media people who are not even there is to try and bring, you know, to try and lay it out based on what it is that we have heard, and try to see how we can straighten it so that we can prevent this. Because part of what we heard, part of what was reported, was that the APC had done an empowerment program the day before, and that I think the people were asked to come and collect the instruments for the empowerment program the following day, which was the same day when you were doing your rally. Was that correct? Are you aware of any empowerment program that had gone on the day before? Because if that is, I mean, the police have been saying that they have been trying to avoid a situation whereby two major political parties or political parties have events that are happening on the same day, that these sort of situations usually breed conflict.
Yes, I heard that there is empowerment program, but that empowerment program was a decoy, was just a ploy to sort of an excuse for them to do what they're doing. We had just, I think, 4 or 5 campaign rallies throughout since the campaign was allowed. And we have communicated to them that President PDP candidate is coming, and that should be our day. There shouldn't be 2 parallel events going on, be it empowerment program or political rally at a very close venue. So this is just an excuse for them to carry out what they have done. In fact, what they have done is to try and lure people away from our rally in the name of empowerment. They took out all the tricycle and the buses so that they're not allowed to come and receive our guests. So they took them away in the name of empowerment. They shut down all the local governments, the exit to the entrance to Maiduguri and all the exits, that nobody can go out or come in, so that the president should not have massive supporters from the 27 local governments. So the people we have in our rally were just people in Maiduguri Metropolitan Council. We have mobilized people from all the 27 local governments. We're not allowed to come in. They just close all the gates, and people were stranded, and we just did what we have to do with the people in Maiduguri Metropolitan Council. And personally, what is surprising to me is that the state governor, who is supposed to be the chief security officer in the state, did not found it expedient to come out and denounce what his state party chairman is doing, what his major stakeholders in his party are doing. We're hoping that his judgments are not declouded by his political partisan interests.
Okay, well, we certainly will hope to get a response from the governor of the state, who is supposed to be the chief security officer of the state. But I'd like you to just confirm once again, did this attack happen twice in 2 different places, or was it at just one spot? Was it at the rally, or was it around a roundabout as we're reading here?
Throughout the journey from the airport to the Shahus Palace, they have mounted what we call them civilian JTF. They removed their uniforms, put down their identities, and they mobilized them. They mobilized them across the street throughout to the Shah's palace, and there were stones and sticks and you know, so many. So it's not just one place, it's throughout. They lined them up throughout the street from the airport to the Shah's palace.
So this happened on your way to the Sheikh's palace, not at the grounds of the rally?
Yes. No, on our way to the Shah's palace, and from the Shah's palace to the Ramat Square.
It's amazing then that this didn't deter you from, you know, still holding a successful rally, because I imagine that you had the rally after your visit to the Sheikh's palace. Is that correct?
Yes, we had the rally after the Shah's palace.
Okay. At that point, were hundreds of people injured?
So many, more than 100. I just said that one of them died last night. So many. We have taken the names and addresses, phone numbers. These are all available. We're not making it up. You can find out. If there is someone interested, they can find out what happened and how it happened, where they were hospitalized, where they were treated, and all that. Our health committee, because in such gathering, we had a committee on health, where they're taking care of all these people. Even at the venue, so many people were treated, and the injuries were so heavy that we had to send them to the hospitals.
Well, was there any attack at the rally, at the venue of the rally?
At the venue, no.
So everything at the venue went very peacefully, no attack whatsoever, no incidences whatsoever at the rally?
Yeah, the venue is peaceful. We came in, all our supporters, fine. We did our rally, and it was peaceful. But the same people were on the same streets when we were leaving from the rally to the airport, as the presidential candidate leaving to the airport.
I want to assume that the presidential candidate always had security detail with him. Is that correct?
Yes, he does.
Okay. Were they able to curtail anything? Were they able to arrest any one of the people who were fomenting the trouble?
In fact, they have arrested few, and the state police came and were asking, but they said that they have to go with them. I'm not sure if they did, but yes, some of them were actually arrested by the candidates' security details.
Now, earlier when you were talking, you said that you had some information from some people who were already issuing threats, and you sounded like you had some specific names. If that is correct, that you have some specific names of people who are threatening the peace, were these names given to the authorities?
We have written petition to the Office of IGP, to the Office of DSS, to the Office of National Security Advisor, to all of them. And we have copied the state chapter as well. That was done last week, just way before the rally happened. So we have submitted all that, but to the best of my knowledge, no action were taken.
How many people were on that list, were included in the letter that you sent to the authorities?
Are you referring to the people that issued the threat, yes, or the security agencies?
The people that issued the threats.
Well, mainly two people. Who? The state party chairman and one member of House of Assembly, the sitting House of Assembly.
And this information is right there, with the authorities, the IGP and the other people that you mentioned?
Of course.
Okay. Well, again, my colleague already commiserated with you, and we do as well, concerning the person who you said died.
Thank you.
But then do you have, how many casualties do you think could already have a reason from this attack that you talked about. How many people died? You know, you've mentioned the name of the list, the number of people who are wounded. But what's the number of casualties from what you know?
Over 100. I'm sure over 100. In fact, I had a report.
No. Just a second.
170.
Just 1 second. The number of people that died, not the number of people wounded.
No, the number of people that died, so far I just had of one last night. In fact, we were supposed to go see him this morning in the hospital, but just before I went to bed last night, I was told that he died.
So wait, you haven't visited the hospital ever since the attacks?
Yeah, there's mainly two hospitals in Maiduguri, the State General Hospital and the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital.
Oh, why did you consider it important to visit almost as soon as it happened?
Pardon me?
Why did you consider it important to visit almost as soon as it happened, as soon as they were in the hospital?
No, we were just hearing, because these are names that people are bringing, compiling them. We are not even aware that actually we heard about the casualties, but we don't even know. Some of them are still in hospital.
Okay, because I thought that the PDP issued a statement saying about 70 people were injured and several others, and many were wondering, would that not have been sufficient or cause to somewhat postpone that campaign in respect of those who were injured?
You know, what happened is most of the people, as I said, were treated at the venue. They just used some plasters and all that. It's only the serious ones that were taken to the hospitals.
The police, why is it that your party was somewhat quick to point accusing fingers at the opposition party? Because there are those who also, I mean, yes, the police put out a statement that a certain, I think, Danladi Abbas has been arrested. They didn't say he's a member of any political party. And they also question that your emergence as the candidate was not exactly smooth. So why quick to point accusing finger at the opposition party?
The opposition party is issuing threats long before this event happened. We have reason to be cautious. We have reason to draw attention. And it happened, not like it's going to happen. It actually happened.
But does that invalidate those, or perhaps you should speak to that? There are people who are not happy with your emergence. Did you rule them out as well within your party?
Well, within my party, I mean, of course, every people have intra-party challenges. I mean, I'm a young man. I am not the typical politician. I came in and I contested, and people were tired of the way things are going, and they elected me to be the candidate. And all what I have said is that I'm not going to sell my ticket, because that is what the opposition is doing. They are always in bed with whoever that is the candidate in opposition. And they will give you money, they will give you whatever, and then you will do nothing. You will not go out openly campaign. You just do certain things and literally sabotaging yourself so that they emerge as a candidate. And I said, this is not what I will do. I will come out, even if I have one vote, I will, and that's it. And people are happy with this. People in Borno State.
Pardon me, I was just going to say, when you say you're not a typical politician, and that's what we're asking, because when certain establishments don't want to see change happen, and so they could get really angry. So wouldn't it, do you consider it a good idea, or doesn't it make sense when they say, look, rather than just point fingers in one direction, wouldn't it be advisable or helpful for even you as a candidate to know where this exactly is coming from. Is it from your party? Is it from the opposition to help your plan? So making that wider kind of helps, because after all, that is what anyone who is investigating, the police for instance, may do to make everyone a suspect until they get the actual people.
In my party, yes, there were some sort of whatever before the primaries, but after the primaries, we are united PDP in my state. Anybody that is making suggestions or claims that we're not together now is false. I'm in a very good relationship with my then opponent that we run for primaries together. We came in the same plane to Maiduguri. He was at the rally. All his supporters, everyone, have rallied behind me. And within our party, we do not have any challenge at the moment.
What is the procedure?
It's coming from the opposition.
Pardon me. What is the procedure for getting venues for rallies? Do you require permission, information from police, from government, and did you obtain any of those? How did that play out?
It's a letter of notification. We have written to the state government to get where we can get the venue, which they have approved. The Ramat Square was approved. We then wrote letters to all the security agencies, police, DSS, civil defense, and the rest, that these rallies are going to take place. And that is all the notification that were required.
All right, well, we're winding down now. The police have said that this matter is being investigated and that the spokesperson of the State Police Command may have been hasty in coming up with that statement. So has the police hierarchy reached out to you recently after that statement that they are investigating the matter?
I was actually with the police commissioner yesterday after the press release by the PPRO, and what he said was that the PPRO misquoted him. The PPRO said there is no attack, but what the police commissioner meant was that there is no gunshot attack.
No, I'm talking about after the Inspector General of Police spoke yesterday.
No, after that, I'm not being reached out.
Yeah.
My good sir, I have been listening to your account, and for some of the things that you have said, it does sound to me that indeed there was an attack. You say so. The police now confirms that there was an attack. At least from what the police says, they have somebody in custody, and they also have stones as exhibits. There's controversy on the type of attacks that took place. But if you also, if you also listen very carefully to the account that you have given, there is also, concern about the number of people. It's not like as if the number makes it any different. I mean, because really, at this point in our history, we should not be witnessing attacks on campaigns of other political parties. I mean, what we need to see is tolerance amongst political parties. But then there are questions as to whether or not the PDP, in your party, is exaggerating this to whip up sympathy. Because you say that you haven't been to the hospital, it is still people who are bringing names to you. So the question is, how are you able to ascertain that hundreds of people were injured? Because the initial number said 74. How do you know for sure that the number of people who you say were injured were truly in their hundreds? And how are you able to really confirm that the people who are bringing you these figures are not exaggerating because of some compensation they think that they might receive?
I mean, to the best of my knowledge, we're not exaggerating. Nobody will exaggerate. I mean, not me, exaggerating number of casualties just to get some political gains. We already have the momentum. We do not need actually sympathy from that incident. The people of Borno are tired. the government led by APC are completely out of touch with people. They didn't do that in 2019. They didn't do that in 2015. It's this time that they're doing. So we actually do not need sympathy from this incident. What happened is account of what actually happened.
Yeah, but
and
you,
I
you
believe
haven't-
in
you haven't
investigative
told me.
journalism.
You haven't told me how you're confirming the numbers. How are you certain, if you haven't been to the hospital to ascertain for yourself or sent a committee there, as the case might be, that the number of people who were attacked or who were affected were actually in their hundreds?
We have a health committee at the venue. Most of the people that were injured were treated at the venue. Most of them were just some wounds and some whatever. Most of them were treated at the venue. It's only few that were severe in pain that were taken to the hospital. And I was not even allowed for some reasons. They said it's not security-wise for me to even go out. But I was just getting ready because we don't even know where some of the injured people were taken. So we're trying to know exactly where they are and how they are and all that before we go, only for us to hear one of them that was severely injured died yesterday.
All right, well, we have to anchor at that point. Muhammad Ali Jajari, PDP governorship candidate for Borno State, thank you for coming on, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you for having me.
Well, the police have said they are investigating the matter, so it will be of huge importance for them to make that as swift as possible, because we do not want to see any such thing as reprisals or any of such attacks on any campaign, any procession of any political party in any state at any time for any reason whatsoever, because we need a peaceful election right from the process up until the conclusion of the elections. We will be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Promise you want to sit back for this conversation, and I feel it will resonate more with a lot of people. Today being a Friday, right? It's been a very busy week, and Fridays are usually, time we take it easy, ease into the weekend. And now we're discussing tourism. I have personally never met anyone who said, I don't enjoy tourism. By the way, tourism has a wide definition, really. It just means taking time away from work, from home, to relax, go for recreation, and all of that. So yes, indeed, you want to stay back for this conversation. And this is particularly around the linkage between culture, tourism, and the creative industry, especially in Nigeria. As you've seen, we'll be speaking with Elshia Grandcourt, who's a regional director of the UNWTO. That's the United Nations World Tourism Organization for Africa. She joins us live from Spain on the program this morning. Thank you for joining us. Oh, I see. Are you in Lagos already?
Yes, that's right. I was going to say I'm in Lagos, and it's a pleasure to be on your platform once again. Thank you, sir.
It's good to have you now in Nigeria. I mean, last we heard you were still in Spain. So we're going to talk about this big conference. It's meant to start on the 14th. I know it's a major one, first of its kind, linking tourism, the creative industry, and the culture, all of which Nigeria has in abundance. But I'd just like to start off with something which the tourism industry has had to deal with for years now. In the aftermath of COVID-19, seeing the figures, seeing the industries across the world, how well would you say the industry as a whole has been able to recover from COVID-19?
Yes, you are very right in what you say. I mean, globally, we've all gone through a very tough time with the pandemic COVID-19. All sectors has been affected, and tourism primarily. And as we always say, tourism is a sector that is resilient, and we've seen how countries were quick to put in the measures, especially the health protocols. We were at a point where all borders were closed, but as I said, countries quickly came together, and also under the leadership of our Secretary General Zura Pololikashvili, whereby he brought all the key stakeholders, other UN agencies such as WHO, as well as the private sector stakeholders from the tourism industry, together through a committee to look at ways for us to restart the sector. And a couple of initiatives was spearheaded by this committee, whereby we were able to support member states towards the recovery of their tourism sector. And there we are. After the 2 years, slowly now we see that the business is picking up. You would have followed already that WTM that just closed only 2 days ago was a resounding success, because the stakeholders came out and showed that we are ready and open to do business.
Right. I just want to know, because, I mean, this is a big industry. Literally, as I said, I've never met anyone who's not a fan of tourism, relaxation, recreation, and all of that. Is the industry maybe prepared for possibly another pandemic or some sort of disruption? Because I imagine that we've learned some lessons from COVID-19 such that we're able to be better prepared for any disruption in the future.
I mean, I don't believe any country was ready for what we went through, but lessons learned, I believe there's a lot of lessons learned in how better to prepare ourselves for crises. A lot of countries are now looking at their preparedness plan when it comes to not only natural disasters, but different kinds of crises that may be out there. And definitely there would be more challenges that will become, but I believe that with what we've gone through, a lot of countries has picked a lot of what happened and what could happen next, and how to better prepare ourselves for any future eventualities. But it would be something that is continuously ongoing. We always have to try to be mindful that for anything that happens, we are able to reassemble, take stock, and move on. Because now, as we speak, you know, we are not just coming out of the pandemic. We have the war that is going on in Ukraine that is affecting not only that part of the world, but it has a ricochet effect on the other countries as well, because we were getting tourists coming from that side of the world, and that also we saw a drop because of this. So crises after crises, what is important is that lessons are learned, and we try to rebuild the sector. And as I say, tourism is a sector that is resilient, and the beautiful thing is when you see everybody coming together, trying to find the best possible solutions.
And I mean, I dare say that the tourism sector is also important for, you know, human well-being, ensuring people have, you know, good psychosocial because, I mean, you've talked about the wars, I mean, countries facing economic crunch and all of that. So people really want to just take a break out of all that pressure and just relax and go for recreation. So let's talk about the Nigerian situation, really. And this global tourism conference holding in Nigeria, linking, you know, our culture with tourism and the creative industry. We have one of the biggest in the world. And in terms of culture, I mean, over 300 ethnic, you know, groups and all of that. So talk to us, what is the plan really with this global tourism conference? I know Nigeria is literally the right place to hold it, but what are you planning to bring out from this?
I totally agree with you, and this conference is very timely. Very timely, why? Because as you know, in 2021, the International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development was declared at the 74th UN NGA, and really is to put creative industry as at the center of the recovery. And what better place to do that in Nigeria, because this sector is also very important, not only for Nigeria, but globally. And within these 2 days that we will be here, obviously we have a series of activities that will be going on. But what is more important is that we're using this platform to showcase not only what Nigeria has to show us in terms of cultural heritage and the creative industries, but also what is out there, especially linking these two very important topics to the tourism industry, because you know that the creative industry leads to the creation of jobs. A lot of jobs is being created from there. And within these 2 days, we also anticipate to have targeted workshops in order to be able to give the right tools and capacitate the key stakeholders within that industry in order to be able to better promote their own activities, if you want to say, on the ground. We will be looking at things also related to screen tourism, for example, with the support of Netflix. But more importantly as well, the topic of the intellectual properties, the rights that the artist receives from the work that they do. So there will be an array of discussions around these topics, but at the same time, we're taking the opportunity to also give some training through the workshops. And also, we have a hackathon that has been launched by a Nigerian entrepreneur. So we will be listening to the youth coming to pitch their solutions during this platform as well.
I mean, and we're partners with you on this one, really, just to ensure that we tap into that tourism sector well and provide jobs. Lately, we've been seeing the contribution of the creative sector to Nigeria's GDP, and it looks like we can even do way better, which is why this is very important. But I know that you've talked about moving tourism away from exploiting, basically, to everybody gaining from it. And I heard that all-inclusive packages, for example, you realize that most of the monies generated, about 80%, actually go to, international companies, the airlines, the hotels, and leaving nothing really for the local environment where, these attractions come from. So really, how can we do better for those who have the ideas, those who actually have those locations, the locals, those who are really responsible directly for those attractions, such that they are not exploited? Because I think that's a major challenge we have seen.
I think, yes, you are very right on this. But what is important is for us to continuously be encouraging. And I always say this, we must encourage the visitors that comes to our shore to eat local, to wear local, and to buy local, because that is the only way we can allow those local entrepreneurs, those stakeholders, to be able to put at the fore the products that they are really working on, in order to be able to lead really to have that trickle-down effect that goes down to all the artists, everybody who's contributing towards the value chain in the tourism industry. So there is a strong urge for us to move towards that direction, but also to create that environment. So that is why in this conference, we don't have only the public sector, but we have the private sector, because there needs to be that dialogue between the two, whereby the public sector is setting the policy framework. We need also the private sector to be there to help to drive this forward. And with this conference, we hope that through these dialogues, some key solutions could come out, so that then countries could also look at it. And also there will be other countries coming to share their best practices. We will have the case studies from countries like Tunisia, for example. You will have countries from Morocco, for example, coming to share what they are doing also at a local level, South Africa, and at least to share that best practices that is existing also in their own country when it comes to culture and creative industries.
Interesting. I mean, your enthusiasm for this conference is so infectious. I've been looking at the objectives, some of the objectives that you hope to achieve. And one of them, looking at it, it says is to discuss the importance of creating creative ecosystems such as protection of copyrights in the film industry, heritage sector, arts, media, functional creations, etc. I'm sure that copyright continues to be one of the biggest problems that the creative sector will tell you that they're going through. What are some of the solutions you're hoping will come through? Are there examples of countries you think have really been able to get a hang of this copyright problem and seeing how they can enforce it better? You know, those countries you think that perhaps Nigeria can learn even a lot more from.
Absolutely. That is why we've brought together all these different stakeholders, such as WIPO is there, Netflix is there. We have so many of the partners that works with us on this, and the countries that are coming to share their best practices so that we can see at what level one is in comparison to the other, so that they can share. And obviously, within a conference, we will not have all the solutions, but it's also always good to have this exchange and look at what each other is doing, so that at least coming out of this conference, we can see how to move forward best in these situations. But the protection and the rights for the artists, as you say, it still remains a challenge in a lot of countries, and that is why we feel it's important to continuously be encouraging them to look at this, so that the artists can get their fair share of the work that they produce.
I also find it very interesting that you talk about intangible heritage. Is it intangible heritage sites or intangible? Yes, intangible heritage sites.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting that you also still call them sites. Some of them include the Congolese rumba dance, the Mutia traditional dance of Seychelles, Grand Festival of Tangira in Bolivia, flamenco in Spain, etc. Now, for some of these intangibles, how are you hoping that people will be able to pass it on from one generation to the other? Do you think that they're in any danger of becoming extinct?
Absolutely, because nowadays when we look at culture is something that we should be preserving. And we have seen recently, you just rightly mentioned, that has been inscribed by UNESCO, the intangible heritage, cultural heritage, such as you're not talking just about the hard items, but also the different dances, the gastronomy. But we need to be careful, because there is the rate of globalization that is happening. The youth are looking more and more at the new tendencies, but we have a duty to preserve what we have inherited. And it's through these to make sure that it can then be handed and passed on to generations after generations. We have a duty to do that right now. And we have to be careful, because yes, we need to catch up with the pace of digitalization that we are moving with, but we also have to put the right framework in order to be able to ensure that what has been there continues to live. But it's by promoting, by safeguarding, that we will be able always to have these intangible heritage intact and protected, so that we can be passed on for generation after generation. And I think more and more countries are moving into that direction, in trying to bring more to the fore what are the things that they feel must be protected, but not only at the national level, but at the global and international level. Because when people travel, they travel specifically to enjoy the experience, first of all, but also to discover the culture, to meet with the people, to savor the gastronomy. And this is one of the key initiatives also of our Secretary General that has pushed us to really put the African gastronomy on the international stage through the gastronomy brochure that we published. And we see now more and more countries are really pushing this forward. And within this conference, this is not also an exception, because we will have chefs coming internationally as well that will be showcasing the different gastronomies of the continent.
And all of these are happening on just one day? Is it just November the 14th, or is it for more than that one day?
We kick off on the 14th. This is an industry that has different facets. So one day would not be enough for us to be able to cover everything. So over 3 days, we will be here in Lagos to look at all the different activities around the theme of the conference. So from the 14th to the 16th of November.
14th to the 16th, and it will be happening at the, where precisely now?
At the National Theatre here in Lagos.
At the National Theatre, interesting. Well, we do wish you a very successful conference. I'm not certain, I do not know if my colleague Kaede has more questions for you, but that will be all from Abuja here. Over now to you, Kaede.
Oh, well, it's happening here in Lagos, Mark. So yes, Lagos would always have the final say on this. And yes, Channels Television is an official partner with the UNWTO. So clearly, we're in this together, and we're happy to ensure that we make the best of, the creative industry, the vast culture of Nigeria. And speaking of that, I'd like to ask you 2 issues as we wind down. What do you find most interesting about either Nigeria's culture, the creative industry? What would you say is most intriguing, fascinating for you about Nigeria?
Everything from the gastronomy, from the fashion, but more importantly, the Nollywood. I mean, nobody doesn't know about Nollywood. Everybody's, I'm sure, a big fan of this, and we're looking forward to be able to learn a little bit more, obviously, about this interesting film industry here in Nigeria. But I think there is a different buzz, if you want to put it this way, when we talk about everything related to culture and creative industries in Nigeria. And that is why I believe also it's fitting that it is hosted here in Lagos. And allow me also, sir, to say thank you to Channels TV for this collaboration that we have with you. You have been a great support for us to put forward the work that we do, and we really do appreciate your supporting us on this event. Thank you so much.
Let me just give you a little language class here. So in Yoruba, you say Eshe for thank you, Dalu in Igbo language, and Nagode in Hausa language. They all mean thank you. So thank you very much as well for the work you're doing. I know this has been a very interesting period in the world, and I'll just like to end on this note. We're counting down to the World Cup, and I know the Barcelona Declaration talked about, respecting, the culture of whatever nation in terms of tourism, and a lot of people will be traveling, especially to Qatar for the World Cup and all of that. And I wonder, what is perhaps the position of the UNWTO on this? Because it looks like, yes, there's a culture, there's globalization as well, which you talked about. So maybe on a general scale, how are you balancing the local culture and globalization, which looks like it's encroaching on the space of local culture?
I think the key word to your question here is respect. We need to be able to respect, appreciate each other's culture. We might not have the same opinions about everything, but if we have the respect and understanding, I think we can move forward in a better way. So for me, this is really the key word: respect.
Again, I'll say Eshe, Dalu, and Nagode. It's been very interesting speaking with you. Elsia Grant Corday is the Regional Director, UNWTO for Africa. It's going to be very interesting 3 days, that conference. We'll be there as partners just to ensure that the world gets to see what is going on at that Global Tourism Conference. Again, thank you so much and wish you the very best.
Allow me to say Ashe Nagode. I hope I got that right. Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, you did. Thank you so much. All right, very interesting conversation, and of course the coming days will be interesting. I'd like to encourage you to visit tourist sites in Nigeria. Yes, there are lots of them around your locality, yes, and even beyond. We'll go on a break now, and when we return, we'll come to you with our final topic of the day. We're not done just yet, so please stay with us.
Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Our next segment is focusing on mainstreaming disability issues in our electoral system. And so we've got Mr. Jake Pellet joining us now. He is the CEO and founder of the Albino Foundation. He joins us virtually. He's here to make a case for inclusivity in our electoral process. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us on the program today. So,
good morning, Chamberlain. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we've seen quite a number of advocacy, different groups trying to highlight on what we should focus on and ensure we don't miss out on some relevant things. So concerning this particular matter, where are we actually in the scheme of things?
Well, inclusivity has become the order of the day. We are the front runner in the democratic process. We've gone from policy to practice, making sure that our agitation is driven by policy and legislation. And of course, the framework, which is the tool for driving inclusivity. And I want to say that INEC and the third arm of government and the legislature have done a great job in ensuring inclusivity in the electoral process. A lot more should be done and will be done, but we are taking the right step at the moment to ensure inclusivity is part of the democratic process, and specifically the inclusion of persons with disability. That's what I dream of. That's what I am dying to see.
Okay, so could you give us a picture of what kind of steps has been taken so far? Perhaps I know that you demand certain steps from the political parties themselves concerning their campaigns. You also look to INEC themselves concerning ensuring that certain persons also occupy certain positions. And then even from members of society in terms of accountability, acceptability, and ensuring that we all pull together in one complex whole. So if you could go through those stages for us, what exactly has been done and where do we need to do more?
Let me start with your community, the media. You can see that we're beginning to see inclusive media. We've gone into partnership and also to bring to the front burner issues around disability inclusion, even in the political process, within the media cohort. Then to INEC. INEC had done a lot of work with us and several other organizations by not just doing the talk, but also having the work in terms of the framework that is required to drive inclusivity. INEC has a framework on inclusive electoral process, and they have also made good their promise by establishing a whole department for inclusion. I think Professor Mahmoud had done greater work than every other chairman of INEC that I know. Again, this is not to say they are at the conclusive end. A lot still needs to be done to do that effectively. The legislature, they've established a committee for persons with disability. They helped us pass the Electoral Act, where Section 54, subsection 1 and 2, captured inclusivity in totality. Although there's room for tweaking and repealing and replacing some of the even statement in the clause. But it never happened before. Yes, it was there in 2010 Electoral Act, but it was draconian because it didn't say anything at all. Rather, it gave INEC a room to practice what I will call tokenism. Give it to them if you like. So that also is a milestone. And of course, the disability law, which has been passed and signed into operation by the president, the establishment of the National Commission for Persons with Disability, the development partners coming to grant funding for a lot of OPDs, that's organizations of persons with disability, to actually play big in the process. So the use of data by INEC, which is, I think INEC has the most credible and verifiable data of eligible voters with disability. And we're working with them to produce a usable, user-friendly dashboard that would help any electoral officer right on the field with a fingertip to chunk out the numbers. So a lot is being done. The community of persons with disability are adequately sensitized. We're going around the country on our campaign called Able to Vote. We're going around the country to ensure the participation of persons with disability holistically. So a lot is being done. Before now, nothing would have been said about inclusivity. And now, big networks are beginning to give us the opportunity so that our voice will be counted. That never happened in the past, you know. So it's a good development, and we cherish it, and we want to see that that will continue and not have a stopgap.
Well, one of the things that one would naturally wonder about is, I mean, you've talked about the things that INEC has done. I'm pretty sure there will be concerns. After all, there's no such thing as perfection, right? So what are the expectations? But before I go to that one, I'd like you to speak to what people need to know in order to give all necessary assistance to people with disabilities in different parts of the country, especially as elections build up. What are the things you would like to see? Government has played its part. I mean, that's what you're saying. INEC has played its own part. What are the kind of partnerships you would like to see from people to, in terms of partnering with people with disabilities?
Let me start with your constituency, the media. I would like to see Channel partner with many of our OPDs to get these presidential candidates and hold them accountable. Every one of them, I haven't heard any of them say anything around for persons with disability. What is their manifesto? What's their plan? What's their social contract with the community of persons with disability? They're saying that a few have said for women, for youth, which is something that I also advocate for. But we need to know a definite plan for 16% of the electorate. 16 is expected that persons with disability will constitute that percentage. You know, that's a critical number. That's a number that if they don't vote you, you will lose an election. And yet, the candidates are not saying anything about these numbers. Are they going to treat us the way the society has always been treating us? Oh, you don't matter. It doesn't matter. All you need to do is give them bags of rice or give them small money, and they would. But no, we are maturing and evolving, and I want the nation to know that this time, not our voice will count, our vote will count, and we will give it to one person that we can trust will factor our issues. So for the media, we need more publicity. We need more discussion. You know, a big network like yours putting up this kind of discussion will go is going you know, a lot more than meet the eyes. We want to see INEC to truly implement the things that we have been saying and doing and providing for them over all these years. You know, implement access to polling units on that day of election, implement training of ad hoc staff to understand our need and to implement priority voting. For the society themselves also have a role to play. When we come to the polling unit, allow us the right of voting first, which is covered by law. It is covered in Electoral Act Section 54, subsection 1 and 2. It is there. It's legal for us to be given the right of voting before others. You know, we want to also the intersecurity agencies to understand our needs and not intimidate us and, you know, shove us behind and say, oh, you person with disability, can you even vote? You know, I think my research, we have focused on 3-tier approach to getting inclusivity. Approach number 1 is we have developed a guideline that INEC management has approved. We are at the verge of printing. That guideline tells anybody who wants to drive inclusivity what to do and what not to do. We have developed a guideline for the political parties. It was in partnership with IPAC. You know, if the political party follows that guideline, they will know that they will have to mainstream inclusivity in their manifesto. We have developed a guideline for intersecurity agencies, the army, the police, the customs, the road safety, civil defense. If they follow those guidelines, they will know what to do, not only on the day of election, before election, the day of election, and after election. That we are, all of these guidelines, there are portions, there are sections for persons with disability, for them to know what to do, how they will cast their vote, and what they can tell any of these operatives if they stop them.
Well, it will be interesting because, I mean, the guidelines that you're talking about, we're not just talking about, say, women or children here. We're talking about 16% of the voting population, as you said, spread across all sectors, across all organizations, across all spheres of life in our country. Well, perhaps one way to go about it would then be how we dissipate these plans that you have to the various communities, you know, private sector, public sector, and all of that, and how they take it on. What kind of reaction have you gotten from any organization about this, you know, about implementing these guidelines that you're suggesting?
Let me start with, and this is not commercial. Let me start with my funding partner, the European Union. We took these templates to the European Union, and they found it worthy. And they are providing, you know, some resources, you know, for us to be able to do this, you know. And so that's in regards to funding. We have also taken these templates to INEC management. I can tell you that, and that's why I'm very happy with the kind of reception that we get from the management of INEC. And sometimes people see me talk about what INEC have done. If you do well, I will say it. If you don't do well, I will say it. There was an election that I wasn't happy the way it was conducted. I confronted Professor Mahmoud face to face, said what I want to say. You understand? We must learn to criticize constructively. And that's my principle. So part of the things that I am here doing in Sokoto, I'm beginning to also look at the grassroots democracy, which oftentimes we don't pay attention to. So we are supporting the SIEC in Sokoto, and we are scaling it up to the SIEC at the national level by providing the same platform, the same tools, the same
Mr. Pele,
capacity.
just 1 second. I was asking about how you communicate those plans to various communities. You've taken it to INEC. INEC has approved it, but I mean, has supported it. But then how it is implemented or received by the political parties, by various communities,
with
by
open arms,
organizations. Okay, go ahead.
With open arms, with open arms, with open arms. We start by way of advocacy, and we don't just stop at advocacy. We then develop instrument. It's a very strategic engagement.
Okay.
We then develop mutual instruments, something that you and I can agree is usable. And then we then developed the template for implementation. And after implementation, we come back and do MEL, monitoring, evaluation, and learning, so that we can plan a sustainable and a more effective implementation going forward. So all the communities or people that we intervene for are very receptive, very receptive. INEC, the legislative, as a matter of fact, the Speaker of the House endorses most of our projects, and we're very proud of that.
And it's very good to hear that at the top echelon of society, you know, a lot is being approved for us to be more inclusive. But I think the challenge we have is practicality in the society. You know, some of the things that you have raised, some people will say we should normally take those things for granted if we're people who are normally more considerate of those who are a little more vulnerable than the average person. So I'm wondering, for you, also taking into cognizance that perhaps not all disabilities might be equal, for what class of people would you say that there needs to be more consideration, since you say that there's already some work being done, but that more needs to be done?
You know, in the spirit of inclusion, everyone should be considered. Everyone. Nobody should be left behind. There is no, I wouldn't want to say that there is one disability that is worse than the, yes, practically, yes, there are issues that are greater than the other. Yeah, but we are making sure that everybody is included and everybody's need. We may have diverse need, I understand that, but we're ensuring that everybody is carried along. The physically challenged would definitely need ramps. They will need accessibility. You know, the blind will need a guide. You know, the hard in hearing or the deaf, you know, will need an interpreter. The person with albinism will need magnifying glasses. You know, the Down syndrome will need help. The sickle cell will need help. Those with leprosy will need help. Those with intellectual disability will need help. Every one of us is important and must be served. Their need must be served. And that's the true spirit of inclusivity. And that's what we stand for. And I'm also passionate at discovering even the less visible types of disability. I'm interested in the small people. They are part of us. I'm interested in those with hunchback. They are part of us. Everyone is, when one person is left behind, others cannot move forward. Everyone is important and everyone should be served. Nobody should be left behind. Nobody should be in the category of the underserved.
Yeah.
We need
I think the question I was asking is more around, you know, for whom would you say that there has been significant progress, and what class of people would you say, you know, there needs to be more consideration? These are the areas in which perhaps INEC or even the society can do better.
Well, again, I'm very careful in answering that question. Everyone is important. I wouldn't say the persons with albinism should be given more magnifying glasses. I am a leader, I'm a father in this community. and no father would want to say publicly that this child is more important than this other one. So if we make provision for everybody, then everybody will be happy. In terms of numbers, yes, I agree. For instance, it will surprise you that in the INEC database, persons with albinism have registered more than every other category of persons with disability. Again, this is verifiable, evidence-based claim. Walk into INEC and go to ICT department, they will give you this data. It's verifiable. It's evidence-based. So I won't say because of that, emphasis should be laid on providing for persons with albinism alone. No, everybody. We need equal level playing ground for everybody. Take, for instance, the persons with leprosy have been undermined, just like persons with albinism in the past. So everyone should be catered for. Let's even discover the underserved, the people that we haven't discovered. I am passionate about what is happening in the IDP camp. So we're also taking our intervention to those in the IDP camp. I'm very passionate about what is happening to women. I'm a he for she, and more way I'll be happy one day for someone like you to become the president of this country.
We'll be happy to tell you. So, Mr. Jacob Pelle, we do thank you for your time this morning. He's the CEO and founder of the Albino Foundation. Thank you very much indeed, and all the best.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you.
All right, so let's take a look at some comments coming through from you out there. We've got this email, and he is responding to what we spoke about previously about politics. He says, all political parties must eschew violence because the country cannot afford another security lapse based on political affiliation and thuggery. Parties should make sure their supporters abstain from violence that can stir up any form of reprisal by both camps.
Well, taking a look at this one from Ejike Eze, it's more about the tourism conversation we had. He says we have so many tourist attraction sites in Nigeria that can attract foreign earnings. However, no one will know about these sites if we do not intentionally develop and loudly announce what we have for the world to see. Somebody can argue with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Law Alpha Cross is interested in the political conversation. Providing security for the forthcoming general elections, he says, should be taken very seriously in view of desperation and driving ambition expressed by political office seekers of almost all the political parties. It is expected that security personnel should not be compromised.
Well, Festus Akiboyewa speaks to the conversation we just had, saying Nigeria has not caught the vision to build a society that is fully inclusive of people living with physical and mental disabilities. INEC and government must identify the barriers against our disabled people and remove them so they can participate fully in 2023 elections, and more like people living with disabilities. Thank you very much for that.
Okay, do we have another email from Victor Guy? I'm not sure about that one. All right. Okay, so there you go. That is the show today. We thank you all for watching. Yeah, it's a Friday, and we're hoping you make the best of it while you can in whatever way possible, because we will try to take our own advice. Thank you for watching. I am Chamberlain also.
Thank you. I'm Ogun Yusuf. To have a great Friday.
Yes, and a wonderful weekend as well. Amaya Makinde.
We look forward to seeing you back in Lagos. And don't be surprised if you see on the headlines tomorrow, Mokwe endorsed for president. I'm Kayode. It's on a lighter note. Goodbye.